Hello, I am your host, Kathy Chester, and welcome to the Move It or Lose It podcast, a podcast about all things that move the mind, body, and soul. The Move It or Lose It podcast is for information, awareness, and inspirational purposes only. I am not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV, so please consult your doctor before making any medical decisions. The views expressed by advertisers, guests, or contributors are their opinions and not necessarily the views of the Move It or Lose It podcast. Hello, Move It or Lose It podcast. Thanks for being here today. This morning, I have the co-founder of Rock Tape, Stephen. I knew I'd say, do you just told me? Capobianco.
Oh,
No?
you did it just right.
I did it?
Yeah,
Okay, good. I
that's
don't think I did, but so great to have you here. I remember using your tape as a trainer in the beginning in the gym, and then having my own studio. I would use it oftentimes, probably not correctly. I probably didn't use the tape correctly.
Mhm.
So, but they said I did. I used it for myself. It was just something that didn't think years later I'd be interviewing you. So thank you for being on here.
My pleasure.
Um, Lots of things that I just have always really loved the tape. So now I'm just excited and been geeking out on rock tape and all the things that it's been used for and how long it's been around. So thank you. I want to know so many things about you. You're the co-founder. You also teach the courses on how to use it. You're a
Mhm.
chiropractor. And when you're the co-founder, when did you start working with rock tape? What got you into, I would use it in chiropractor, I'm sure. And when you were, as you were a chiropractor, you use it.
Correct, correct. So I've been practicing for 23 years
Okay.
and maybe pushing 24, and I have to check my math. But regardless, I'd say about 10 years into my practice in 2010, 2009,
Mhm.
2010, I was using another form of kinesiology tape, really the grandfather of this category of
Yeah,
tape, which is called kinesio tape,
right.
developed by a chiropractor named Kenzo Kase. And I was trained under that umbrella. I was using their tape. I was practicing in Northern California at the time, working primarily on endurance athletes.
Uh,
What I was, it just ended up being right time, right place, where I was having difficulty with this tape, not necessarily on how it was working. It
uh,
was function of the tape on the body of the individuals that I was working with just wasn't lasting. And so
okay.
an individual showed up. We were introduced by mutual friends. I was the local taping guy, and he had created what he would call a better widget. He came
Okay.
in with some experience in textiles, made a better tape according to him, and he wanted me to test it, of which I did.
Yeah.
I called him back a week later, and I said, what you made here is superior, is exactly what I'm looking for." He didn't know what to do with the product, so at that point, we band together and we created the brand Rock Tape.
Wow. What year is that?
That was 2010 when we launched.
Interesting.
And I created the education
Yeah.
and the messaging, and then he
Mhm.
obviously was the wizard as it relates to the product, and we were
Yeah.
just a good team developed at that time.
Really cool because that like goes right along with when I started using the tape, and I remember having trouble with it, not the rock tape, but the other one when I was, doing, gosh, back then I was doing a lot of um, high intensity and
Yeah.
then a lot of boot camp kind of things, and then moving on to the studio gyms and using that. And then I remember rock tape coming out and it was being brought in and it was like, try this, and I was like, gosh, this is different, this is kind of, it just works better. And so it's cool. I remember that coming out and just kind of like, this is different, it works better. So very interesting. And so you were able to use it more on, so when it came out it was still being used more on athletes.
Yeah, I would say the majority of the individuals that use this
Mm,
tape, and really because an athlete named Carrie Walsh, a U.S.
yeah,
beach volleyball player, had it
right,
on her shoulder in the '08 Olympics in
right,
Beijing, China, and it really sparked a lot of conversation
right,
here in the Western world of what this tape was, how it worked, what would it benefit someone experiencing similar types of symptoms. And so really it sparked from the sports medicine arena,
Yeah.
but over the last, let's say 15, 16 years, moving into today, we're seeing, and this is one of the reasons I think we were connected, is
Yeah.
the use of this tape, according to what the literature is telling us, can be used for similar types of symptoms that other non-athletes experience. And I
Right.
think this is a great opportunity for us to
Yeah.
share what this can actually do to help people.
For sure. Absolutely. And you are a former hockey player, being
Yeah,
Canadian.
right.
So you were using that, I'm sure, not the rock tape back then.
Yeah.
So you were using the tape. Gosh, did you use it every game? Were you using it a lot back then? Because it
I would,
started. Go ahead.
yeah, no, this has been around. This tape's been around since the
Yeah.
70s. So,
Okay. Because I was going to say, I thought 1989 it was in for one of the. It's for gymnastics, right? Was it
mhm,
in Japan?
I don't recall uh,
Okay.
where the exposure really became
Okay.
related, but I know that this category of tape has been in existence since the
Right.
late 70s.
Okay.
So it's not new. And this is just,
Right. Right.
again, our awareness of it has just become more
Right.
highlighted over the last 15, 16
Yeah.
years.
I cannot tell you how excited I am to announce my partnership with Foot Scientific. Their Elevate 360 drop foot solution is amazing. It's lightweight, it has customized sizing, which is amazing. I've been in braces where they are much too big and bulky. This one has memory foam, it's comfortable. I have walked my dog, I have run with it already. I have danced in it, and it is amazing. It has stainless steel anchors, which you can wear them in any shoe you want to. But to be able to have them connect to your laces so that you can lift the foot so that the drop foot isn't so bad and know that they're safe in there is so incredible. To be able to have this, to be able to have it on your ankle and then attach it to a tennis shoe, to attach it to a heel, actually, or a sandal is absolutely amazing. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be a part and partner up with Foot Scientific. They are truly here to meet our needs. So I encourage you to go on to the website at footscientific.com, check them out, and of course, use my discount code. It is MS Disrupted, all caps 30, and you'll get $30 off your pair. And also, don't forget 60-day guarantee. If it doesn't work for you, then you can return it. And that is why I love Foot Scientific. They're a company that truly cares about our needs. So don't forget, check them out. I love my partnership with them. Have a great day. But yeah, absolutely. Some of the stuff that I was reading too, which gets into my world of working with autoimmune diseases, people with MS like myself. Um, I've been seeing it and more patients being open to it, so like part of the things that gets me excited with that is reduces inflammation, right? Because we need to know that improves pain, we need that. Stabilizes muscle and joints, again, for all of us. Now explain this because a lot of people won't understand this. A
Yeah.
sensor blind spot concept, what is that?
Yeah, the sensory blind spot was just my way of trying to communicate how this form of tape applied to the skin, of which it's
Okay.
applied to the skin of the body. We
Mhm.
start thinking about muscles and joints, but we forget that the only tissue that we're actually coming in contact with this tape is the skin.
Mhm.
And realizing that the skin is highly innervated, meaning that it has
Right.
all these sensors in it, just like we do on a keyboard on a
Right.
computer. We have the keys that communicate that information to the central processing unit.
Right.
We have the same thing in our bodies. We have keys in our skin that
Right.
communicate to the central processing unit, which is our brain. And
Exactly.
when that communication is compromised, and I know that to be true when it comes to the MS community,
Yeah.
the communication from the body to the brain and vice versa
Right.
is compromised.
Yeah.
What we're learning is, and the evidence is starting to support us on this, this idea that if we can highlight or bring attention to an area that that there's a blind spot that the brain
Yeah,
can't see, we can actually improve function, we can improve pain,
right.
just by bringing that spotlight, using
Yeah.
that concept of a spotlight to the area.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that because I will see patients with very tight ankles, right? And we can put that tape on there and they're trying to, squat or we're trying to do things like I mean really it's, that it's a brain injury, like a stroke or anything else. And so it's okay, we're going to and I never stopped. I think that's why I'm still able to do so much and run and do things that I when people look at me and say, "How did you have this disease for 25 years? What are you doing? How can this be?" Well, I never stopped moving. Back in the day when I was diagnosed, they were like, "Lay down, rest." It was a VHS tape, and I was like, "I
Mhm.
follow rules, but this rule I'm not following. It doesn't make any sense." My grandfather had it, and my aunt had it, and I watched them pass away because they just rested. And I'm like, "No, not that's a rule I'm not following." And
Mhm.
so there was too much schooling. I was too athletic. It made no sense to me. So that was something that for me, I watched people get tight. I watched their ankles. I watched atrophy. We know how fast that happens. And
Uh,
so, with patients now that didn't move that I'm working with, I see that all the time that they're so tight with their hips, their ankles, and all those things, their knees. And so, I'm finding them to be a little more open. So, that was a big reason having you on, not just because you're amazing, but having that understanding that this helps so much in this arena that is new for them. They're like rock tape. I used that when I was 20 before I even had this. And
right.
it's like, no, and it's, so many of us are still working. It's like, no, I want you to when you're hurt, I want to see you put this where it hurts. So if it's your
Yeah.
back or your knee, wherever it's hurting, or your shoulder starts to hurt, I want you to put it there and keep it there. And so they're becoming more just kind of getting an idea, getting a little more interested in it. And I
Great.
think when they start to see the benefit of it, they're going to say, okay, I'm going to do it more. And that's just, I think, honestly, Steve, I would say that it is because we get fed stuff a lot. A lot of things come to us and it doesn't work. And
Mhm.
so the MS community gets very tired of it. And they think
Okay.
it's just a ploy for us to buy and purchase things. This is
Right.
not something that's expensive. This is something that really is that can work for us. And I am really excited and I truly love talking with you and I've heard so many great things about you and that I think speaks to your character, your integrity, and when I hear that and I'm able to speak with and interview someone like you, it means a lot to me because when I'm in those communities, they trust me. And if I support that, then they feel comfortable with that. They know that I'll never support something that I don't believe in. And because I've used it for so long, it's something that I truly believe in. Um, okay, one other question. Um, Talk to me about improving fluid dynamics.
Yeah. So my assumption is, not being someone that experiences the symptoms associated with MS, but if we're dealing
I
with
thought you had it, Steven. I thought we were
I
like this. No,
no,
I'm just
no, I
kidding.
don't.
I don't
But
want you to ever have it.
but my point is that when it comes to inflammation control, we have
Mm,
options. There are
right.
plenty of options that are available, over the counter,
Yeah.
prescribed, anti-inflammatories. That's generally what a lot of people are kind of directed to, because
Right.
that's kind of the model that we live in.
Right.
But there are other means of managing inflammation,
Right.
acute and chronic. And what I'm always looking for, especially as an alternative medicine practitioner, I'm looking for alternatives that my
Yes.
patients present with, saying, I need an alternative because I don't want to take this drug, nor it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And so the use of tape on the skin just like what we just talked about as
Mhm.
using it as a sensory tool to highlight an area of the body that the brain can't see. This tape is elastic. So just like
Yeah.
any elastic band, when you put it on a surface, it will recoil. And
Mhm.
that recoil mechanically, and I'm using my arm as an example, but it literally lifts the skin
Yeah.
away from underlying tissue. And what we're learning with that is that it actually helps to externally pump the fluid out of an area that's congested. So
All
we're
right.
using it as an external method of managing both acute and chronic inflammation.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you
Yeah,
for explaining that because I know people will read that and they'll ask me, and I'll completely say it like they'll be like, "What?" So thank you for explaining
yeah,
that.
my pleasure.
Um, some of the things I when I was looking at, talk to me about. Well, first off, is your book so you were the author of facial movement taping? Is it
Mhm.
on Audible?
It is not. That's something an exercise that I need to do.
Yeah,
I always been told I do a lot of voiceovers for
yeah.
my teaching instructor team, and they all say I have a voice that
Oh,
puts people
yeah.
to
You
sleep.
no, put your people asleep?
That's
No,
exactly what they're telling
I
me.
don't think that at
So
all.
so I might do the exercise, but I might not use my voice moving forward.
Oh,
But
no.
it's not on Audible, unfortunately, not at this time.
Yeah, because like for a lot of MS patients, like I can't see it. It's just an ornament out of my right eye. It's just
Hmm.
a pretty blue ornament, but I haven't been able to see out of that. That was like my first symptom was optic neuritis.
All right.
So there's so many of us that they can't. I remember someone asking me, "Why in the MS clinic if the cars are all this way?" I'm like, "Seriously? You've known me for how many years? Do you think a lot of us have good eyesight? If you're going into an MS clinic, that's on you. You're taking your own risk."
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, we love it. I've had like some of the doctors I've interviewed just bring their books to Audible, and I'm like, thank you, because
Great.
it's there's so many we want to read, and I have a patch on this, and I'm trying to like read it, but yes,
Mhm.
please bring it to Audible. But
Oh,
we love it when you guys have your own voice on there, because
I'll
we've
think about
listened to you.
it.
And I just got one of a doctor that I love. I interviewed him, and it's some lady's voice, and I'm like, "What? Like this isn't the same. You're British, and what?" So I would say for sure.
Okay.
Um, so you obviously facial movement taping. Talk to me about that. What is that?
Well, like I said, when I
Because I
initially
can't read it. So no,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
right. And so one of the things that we have been doing since the publishing of that book was that we've expanded the way that we deliver the message using video content
Mhm,
and other ways. So there are other ways of learning the model that we've initially presented.
mhm.
But when it comes to and some it's said differently depending on the audience. There's the fascial movement
Right,
tape and facial, and unfortunately. The facial starts to confuse people thinking that it has to do with something to do with the face, of which it's not. Fascial movement taping is ultimately talking about the science, the
okay.
neuroscience,
It's
and
so it's fascial, not facial.
yeah, but it's said
See
both
my
ways.
eyesight.
But fascial would be more accurate because it
Uh,
doesn't confuse the reader or the
right,
learner in respect to thinking that it has to do with the face
right.
when it comes to facial. So the model is just based on what the neuroscience is as it relates to this layer of connective tissue just below the
Yeah,
skin. So we've forgotten, and those that study human anatomy, we learn about this network of tissue, but we generally thought of it as just a packaging system that kind of
right.
packages our muscles, our tendons, our ligaments, our nerves. But what we've learned over the last 20 to 30 years is that this network of tissue is alive and it's
Right,
highly innervated and it talks to the brain just like the skin does. And
right.
so what I did in respect to this education is just teaching people that when we touch, either using human touch
Mhm,
or using something like a strip of tape or
right,
vibration, that we're stimulating the receptors, those sensors that I just talked about in the skin that also live in the fascia that talk to the brain. It's basically improving the conversation with the brain so then the brain can make a better decision. And
right.
that actually has an effect on all the things that you referred
Yeah,
to earlier.
absolutely.
It helps with pain. It helps with movement. It helps with
Right,
balance. All the things that we know to be
Mhm.
compromised in the MS community.
Absolutely.
Just taking advantage of touch on the skin
Hmm.
fascia can actually improve that conversation with the brain.
100%. I love that. I saw the videos that you're obviously working with pulse devices. So you've got the tape and I did that. And then I talked to Ethan. I said, I've already done it. He was like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm like, I just mess around with stuff to see if it works.
That's great.
And I really do. So talk to me also about the rock tape. And I loved the engineered with the RAN. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Rayon
Okay.
is a brand, if you
Yeah.
will. It's a company out of the UK that we
Hmm.
partnered with. And what I've noticed over the last, 20 plus years of my
Hmm.
career, that there's really been no innovation in respect to tape. We have cotton athletic tape, and the rigid tape that
Right.
athletes have been using for decades.
Right.
Kinesiology tape really hasn't changed. And just for
Sure.
the listener and the viewer of this podcast, kinesiology tape is just cotton and nylon woven
Right.
together. And really, there's been no innovation to the fabric or the adhesive used when it comes to use of this tape.
Mhm.
But what I did partnering with Rayon is
Mhm.
that we medically adhered this super polymer. I'll explain what that
Right.
means in a second, but
It's woven in, right?
yeah, we actually adhered it to our tape, and what that does is that it takes advantage of elastic therapeutic tape,
Mhm.
which rock tape is, but now we've added another layer of quote unquote support. And
Mhm.
how this material supports tissue is that at slow speeds, when you're, let's say, for example, when you're walking,
Mhm.
this material will flex just like cotton and nylon does.
Mhm.
So it doesn't necessarily add any significant support at slow speeds, but let's say you
Mhm.
go from walking to running
Right.
or jumping, something that involves increase in speed, this
Mhm.
material will actively stiffen accordingly. So
Yeah.
at higher speeds, this material will stiffen, so it adds more support to the tissues that need it.
Yeah. No, I
That's what this
loved
tape
that
does.
idea. And like
Mhm.
when and I mean I have my clients that are, in a wheelchair bound and they would use that for, slow movement, but I also have my high intensity
Yeah.
which my clients are I'm just like, "Man, let's go." And they're bodybuilders and things like that I work with, where I get my heavy weights out and it's like, "All right, we're going to do chest press and stuff like that." Where they would love that. And I just watched the video on it and I was like, whoa, like I want to get that. Because I do my workouts with my MS patients, but I also have my healthy patients as well, where that challenges me, to jump on the Bosie ball and do burpees and all those things. Like, can I still do that? I still have that balance? And that I love that idea because I can't do it every day, but I looked at that tape and I was like, "Ooh, I want that." So, because we do still have high functioning multiple sclerosis patients that are still, CrossFitting, they're still doing this stuff. Now, I do get those CrossFit people that come back to me after they've had a broken back or something, and they're like, "Can I do this?" I'm like, "Yes." And but I do have a great relationship with CrossFit. I love them. So I think that when I geeked out on that, I was like, what a great idea for just to move that into a better tape for those who are doing fast,
Yeah,
and it
that's exactly right. So we just wanted to innovate. I wanted to innovate, creating something that solved the problem. And the problem
yeah,
with your point is this: when needed, this tape can actually actively, like a smart material,
right,
will actively support the area more aggressively than traditional kinesiology tape.
right,
So it just adds another layer of support
yeah.
if in.
How many calls do you get? Because I know with like clients, I think it's funny. They'll be swimming, it's summertime, they'll be outside on the boat, and
Mhm.
2 days later, they're like, it's coming off. I'm like, you were in the water. Like it's water resistant, but you've been
Yeah.
swimming for 2 days. Like, what are your expectations of this tape?
Yeah, I
So,
think I think people forget that one, this tape is intended to be applied for multiple days.
right.
So as a general rule, the tape should stay on, and we'll talk about kind of the best practices when it comes to
Yeah.
maintaining that a duration in time, but it's 3 to 5 days on the body part. Now, I used to do triathlons, even to
Mm.
the Ironman distance, and
Oh, really?
I've had the tape stay on my body from the beginning of the race to the end. And this is consistently true for
Yeah.
athletes that I've treated for my whole career. The caveat is that you need to understand that this form of tape has three different levels of adhesion, meaning
Yeah.
gentle, standard, and extra
It's in
sticky.
the website,
Right. And
which I
so
love that you put that in there.
yeah, I would recommend anyone that's like a high mover
Right.
or sweats a lot. I live in
Right.
the Austin area, so that we're talking
Yeah.
about living on the face of the sun. So,
Right.
so there's more chances of perspiration. So
Mm.
knowing that, I generally will lean more so towards the extra sticky
Sure.
adhesive versus the others. So that would be my first, comment to those that are having issues with the tape lasting less than 3 days,
Right. So if you're
regardless
in
if
a
they're
hot
in the water or
climate,
not. Mhm.
you
Correct.
should just think about that. Like if you're sweating a lot,
Correct.
get the stickiest tape. Get it stickier because you're going to probably lose it a little bit quicker.
That's right. That's right.
Common sense.
Yeah, that's right.
So no, I love that. Introducing the Pulse device. Cutting edge, wearable device, revolutionary, wellness designed to stimulate circulation, reduce harsh pain and tightness, and speed up recovery. The Pulse device uses advanced vibrotactile technology trusted by patients, clinicians, and wellness professionals. Whether you're recovering from an injury, battling a neural condition, or just want to feel the best every day, Pulse helps you recharge so that you can live and feel better. Lightweight, powerful, and easy to use. Experience better performance, better recovery, and a better you. Order now and save $30 using my code MSDisrupted at pulsedevice.com. The Pulse device is your health recharged. You won't be disappointed. Get it now for yourself. I have it. I love it. Go ahead and grab it. Where do you see yourself a year from now? Where do you see yourself moving
Oh,
into?
great question. Yeah, man, you put me on the spot on this one.
I'm sorry. I said
Because
they didn't
it's
give
a
me anything.
it's a great question, and I didn't set you up for success as it relates to like these are the questions that I want fielded. I don't feel comfortable with giving any of the interviews that I do, but that question's a stopper for me because it gets me to think, what do I want to do professionally? If that's the question, I would say I want to lean into other categories, and this is
Yeah.
why I got so excited about this opportunity to speak
Yeah.
with you. I've been in the sports medicine field. Rock tape has been identified,
Right.
positively and negatively, focusing on the traditional athlete. And if
Sure.
I had to be honest with myself, I work primarily with chronic pain
Yeah.
sufferers. That's been like the transition of my career, my professional career, and I get so much joy of helping those that are not given the tools and resources that they deserve.
Right.
And so what I'm trying to do, and this is probably my answer to your question in a long-winded way, is that I
You're
want to
good.
bring the athletic training room that athletes, professional and elite athletes have been getting for decades, and bring it to the masses, meaning
Yeah.
the MS community, the Parkinson's community, the
Right.
chronic pain community, they all deserve the same assets that
Yeah.
professional athletes get. So
Yeah.
that would be my answer.
And I think and I love that too, because, one of the things that I teach, and I got this advice years ago, is that when you are an athlete and something like MS gets you, and for some of us, I can sit right next to someone that was diagnosed yesterday,
Mhm.
and they go to PPMS and they're in a wheelchair, and sometimes that's difficult because they look at me like when we were diagnosed 20 almost 25 years ago, and they're like, what? And so it's just a disease that does what it wants,
Yeah.
and that's a difficult one. But I would also say that I also run a support group with a podcast, and I just can't do enough stuff. But I would love to get, when I do the support group, our early diagnosed client patients to understand if you keep that body moving, it's our best defense. And if you can do this, and if you understand the pulse device, the rock tape, if you can get those things to kind of help you when you are stiff and understand that there are things out there besides all the medication that they want to throw at you, there are things that we can do to keep our bodies moving. It may not always look like through the years, like we may not be able to do high intensity stuff all the time, but it is so powerful to see different companies moving into that area that they see us and we feel, because oftentimes it feels like no one sees us.
Right.
But again, back to the advice I got was to do something you haven't done. So
Mm.
someone that's very athletic, it's difficult for them to go back to that sport, especially, I honestly, especially males, because it's really difficult if they were very athletic. You can imagine going back to hockey and they can't do it. They can't be on their legs. They don't have that leg strength anymore.
Right.
So oftentimes I will give the advice of try something you've not done before. For me,
Uh,
I don't know why. I thought I'm going to start running long distance. Don't know why I thought that was good. I couldn't feel my feet, but I
mhm.
thought, well, they're hitting, gravity says they're hitting the ground. But that was mine. That was what I wanted to do. So in
Right.
triathlons. So that's why I was like, yeah, I love that. So that was my big thing to do. I'd never done that. I played every sport, but that's not endurance running.
Yeah.
And so that's what I loved. I mean, I was followed every time, but they just told me they put bubble wrap around me. So now the tape I used for those injuries, and it was different. And that's what I found years ago with the swelling and the MS stuff. But I didn't know if it was just me or if it was actually doing something. So
Yeah.
through the years, I noticed it was doing something different with MS. It was taking swelling down in the joints because I have rheumatoid. I picked these up like Pokemon cards. I'm telling you, it was not good enough. I had the MS, but then I got rheumatoid. So with the rheumatoid and the swelling, I noticed that immensely. So it's just really neat to now be with you and explain to others that this works. And I've known it for years. So I love that you're getting more into that community.
Yeah, of
Mm,
course. And to be able to do so with authenticity and just real information. I'm a curious learner. And, you talk to any of the ones that I work with, I'm
mm,
head deep into the literature as a general rule, so then I
yeah.
can I can present to any community and say, here's what the literature is telling us.
Mm,
Here's what we've experienced anecdotally, what I've experienced as a clinician, what
yeah.
you've experienced. And I get to be able to meld those two together so
Mm,
that I can present to someone saying, here's the argument that we're presenting. By
right.
no means, and you just brought up as it relates to, inflammation,
Right.
I don't say I want to be the alternative. I just want to be the complement is usually what I
Right.
say. A strip
Yeah.
of tape can complement what you're currently doing. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop everything else that you're doing.
Right.
So I like the fact that it's a low risk intervention that could be tried. And if it
Right.
gives you the outcomes that you're looking for, you just said it yourself, every individual is going to present differently. So
Sure.
I want to present them the information that makes it
Yeah.
safe and controlled, and then they can take it and experience it
Yeah.
themselves.
Absolutely. Okay. So last question.
Sure.
So see cognitive fog. I'm like, where'd it go? Um, if um, if you could have seen yourself doing this, or let me go back. Could you have seen yourself doing anything else? And is this a career you would have chose? And how happy are you? And how excited are you to move forward in it? Gosh, there was
I'm
4 questions in one. Sorry.
Yeah. I again, you're asking such, loaded questions that do really force me to think. I've been in I again, I'm 23 years into my chiropractic, program. But before I
You
became a
look like you're 25, so I'm trying to figure out how that's
chiropractor,
possible.
I wish it was 25, but I'm in my mid 50s. I have a birthday
No,
coming.
you're not. Stop
I
it.
am. I am. And when I was in my 20s
Okay.
doing my master's, I did my master's in adapted kinesiology, which is
Okay.
just ultimately working with neurodegenerative disease, to be honest.
Right.
At that time, my
That's funny that you did that.
professional goal was to move into my PhD and doing research.
Okay.
I met someone that was doing some significant work with the cohort that I was studying at the time, and demonstrated that they could make a significant change in someone's function in a very short amount of time. And that was a chiropractor manipulating the study group that I was working with.
Okay.
So I'm saying all of this because I didn't think chiropractic would have been something that I would strive
Okay.
towards.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
Right, but I got to meet someone that was making significant change. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to
Yeah.
be able to witness that and change my focus in respect to what I wanted to do professionally. And I'm just so blessed to be able to do what I'm doing now because
Yeah.
as a traditional chiropractor, I'm not the one
Yeah.
that you look at. I'm one that took the opportunity from my experience to be able to start a brand like Rock Tape, but
Yeah.
more importantly, start a community just like what we're having right now
Hmm.
is broadening the discussion of what we can do to help people
Right.
move and feel better. And that
Yeah.
includes someone that's experiencing MS to an elite athlete looking to
Right.
do something at the Olympics. So
Yeah.
I'm just really thankful for the position that I'm in now, that I still have, a further runway to travel on to be able to make some change.
Absolutely. That great answer. The courses that you teach, how often do you teach them? And
Yeah.
what do they look like?
Yeah, the we have an education platform. So
Mm,
again, I'm bifurcating the product, Rock
mm,
Tape, to the education. The education brand is called FMT. The
mm,
acronym stands for Functional Movement Training. And you can find all of our content on
mm.
fmtplus.com. And that education platform houses
That'll
education.
be at the bottom of the show notes, so you
Oh,
don't have
great.
to like stop
Great.
and don't
Yeah.
stop your car.
FMTplus.com is our hub of education where we house education on kinesiology tape, of course. Our other tools that we offer within our category are instrument assisted tools, tools that help to improve tissue mobility. We have courses on cupping therapy, on
I
flossing
haven't
therapy.
done that yet. I'm so afraid. I don't know why I'm so afraid of the cupping.
Most people are because of what the remnants are, which is more
Yeah.
of a traditional cupping, which would be, I call them the cupping hickeys, the little
Yeah.
bruises that
Yeah.
you get. And so the model that we teach, and this is why education is so important, is
Yeah.
learning about, a technique that you might have been afraid of,
Yeah.
learning what the evidence is saying, and potentially different models of application. Our model of cupping is significantly different than a traditional Eastern
I
philosophy.
noticed that watching it
Yeah.
because it doesn't, it kind of moves around
Correct.
on.
It's
Okay.
meant to be on for a short amount of time.
Hmm.
Again, using the neurosensory model of thinking, that
Right.
we're getting that conversation of a body part to the brain
Right.
versus the traditional model of making a change to energy flow,
Hmm.
concepts that aren't as well understood here in the Western world. My
Yeah.
my point is that we teach the what the science is telling us, and then you could figure out the application according to what your scope of practice is.
Yeah.
So that's what FMT Plus is
Okay.
multiple courses on how to manipulate the body to be able
Sure.
to improve function and overall sensation.
How long is the course?
They're all courses ranged between, let's say, 2 hours to 6 hours.
Okay.
In the professional realm, when we're talking about physical therapists,
Uh,
athletic trainers, chiropractors, massage therapists,
right.
they generally need continuing education credits.
Sure.
Uh, and so we provide continuing education accredited courses between 2 to 6 hours in duration.
Great. That's awesome. I love that you do that. That's kind of what I'm going towards now because I'm kind of at the top of what I can teach of what I do. And I'm like, I need to actually now teach a course.
Yeah.
So Yeah, that's awesome. I love what you're doing. I love the idea of rock tape moving into these different areas. Again, I'm so grateful to have met you. I love the idea of collaborating and see where you're going into this field and see where you are soon. I know you are very busy, so I'm very grateful that you took the time to be with me today and
Pleasure.
to really explain to my audience, and so they understand this even more, and to really help them understand that the rock tape is moving into other areas, and to explain that. So thank you so much for taking this time with me today and
My
helping
pleasure.
them understand a little bit more. Anything else that you want to share?
I would just leave your followers with the idea that, lean into the unknown,
Mhm.
because quite often you'll find something that works for you and meets your needs. And as it relates to, and I'm not suggesting that tape solves all problems, but
Right.
because of the uncertainty and lack of understanding of how this tape works, people just avoid them.
Yeah.
I would do exactly what you just suggested. Do something that's new and novel for you.
Yeah.
Just like you said, as it relates to what you're going to be doing in the next year, I would
Mhm.
suggest that look with more curious eyes to alternate solutions to
Right.
what you're faced with. And so sometimes that could be just a simple strip of tape. There's
Yeah.
very little risk, and there could be significant upside. And so just take that calculated risk, if
Yeah.
and when.
I love that. And there are so many of us that in the support groups are just so saturated with medication, and they're trying to get out of all that. And they are looking for solutions other than medication. And so being able to share all of this today, I know there's going to be a lot of excitement with that. And a lot of my people that follow are using the Pulse device. And so having and I shared using the tape and then the pulse device over. So I think this will be a really great combination for them to understand. Thinking even my editor was has a lot of back pain, and so
Mhm.
I told him to do that, and so he did, and found he was just really shocked that the pain just he was able to have relief.
That's
He
great.
does a lot of the cool video games that the kids do, and
Mhm.
so he was just there's a lot of sitting, and so he just was in a lot of pain. So I mean, what it works, and I love that. So again, thank you so much. I look forward to collaborating with you more. And so, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Again, listen to what he said. Don't be afraid to try new things. And I know sometimes we get nervous about that, but this is easy breezy. This isn't a big deal. So try this and see what you think. And I always say, put it where it hurts. Don't be afraid of that. And you're going to see me with it all over. So you'll know because I'll be sharing with you what it's doing for me. So again, thank you for being on and don't miss this one. I'll let you know when it's coming on and don't miss this one. So have a great week, guys, and I will see you next time on Move It or Lose It. And don't forget, what you don't move, you're going to lose. So bye, guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Move It or Lose It podcast. It would mean the world to me if you subscribed and left a review. Remember, you can find me on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. New episodes of the Move It or Lose It podcast air every other Wednesday. If you have any suggestions for future guests or topics, please visit my website at www.msdisrupted.com. Until next time.